Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Trone. I'm co-chair of Zonta Says Now to Gender Equal Climate Action for the Zonta USA Caucus under Zonta International's. Excuse me, I'm coughing already. Anyway, I'm so glad to welcome those of you who came today and those of you who will watch the recorded version of this book discussion. We have one of our committee members who has volunteered to talk about this very special book. I'm going to let her introduce it, but her name is Connie Campbell. She is co-chair, I am so sorry, co-chair of the District 8 Zonta Says Now committee, and she's very active in her area of the Pacific Northwest in climate action and with all of the campaigns of Zonta. So welcome, Connie, and everyone here. The floor is yours.
Great. I will share my screen. It says it sent the request to you.
Yeah, it's coming through.
Okay, great. All right. So here is our book that we're talking about today, Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants by Robin Wall Kimmerer. So a little bit, oops, it doesn't want to, why is it stuck? It doesn't want to, oh, there we go. It was a little stuck there. Didn't want to move on. Great. So a little bit about the author. Robin Wall Kimmerer is a mother, scientist, decorated professor, plant ecologist, and enrolled member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. In this book, she eloquently uses the indigenous culture's sacred plant, sweetgrass, as a poetic metaphor to explain the origins of plant, animal, and human life on Earth. She lyrically describes their intertwined, respectful, and reciprocal relationships with each other, the loss of that reciprocity, and the hope of ecological restoration to return the gifts of Mother Earth and the balance that once was. Braiding Sweetgrass is divided into 5 sections with several chapters in each section. In the overview today, I will highlight parts from each section. From planting sweetgrass, the book begins with an indigenous origin story of Sky Woman falling as a pregnant immigrant to the earth. Sweetgrass was one of the first plants used in ceremonies. Braiding sweetgrass, they say, is like braiding the hair of Mother Earth. Sky Woman worked in reciprocity with the land, which is to live as if your children's future depended on it. Humans tend to think we are at the top of the hierarchy, but indigenous view humans as the younger brother, and we need to learn from other species. Gift economy. We tend to see a gift as free, but in a gift economy, the gift creates a set of relationships and responsibilities. The more it is shared, the greater its value becomes. Offering. Giving something of yourself to the earth, saying thank you to the land. The author used an example of her dad pouring out the first cup of coffee each day on the land. Later, she shared about sprinkling tobacco on the land before she picked berries. Asters and goldenrod, 2 flowers appearing in the fall that complement each other. The author believes that science and traditional knowledge can be complementary in a similar way. A native scholar, Greg Kajit, wrote, "We only understand something when understood from all 4 aspects of our being: mind, body, emotion, and spirit. It's impossible to get all of those with science alone." The grammar of animacy. Most indigenous languages use the same words to address the living world as we use in our families. Eco-theologian Thomas Burney says the universe is a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. An example of using the grammar of animacy is to call a tree a who and not an it. Perhaps if we use the language of animacy, it would stop the mindless exploitation of the land. The next section is tending sweetgrass, which includes a mother's work. In Potawatomi culture, women are the keepers of water. The role of a mother can expand from being mother of their children to mothering the earth, where all life beings flourish. Consolation of water lilies. The author went paddling on a lake after her youngest daughter went to college. The water lilies reminded her how the lilies on the top of the water are attached to a living rhizome on the lake bottom. The young and older leaves are linked by one breath, and mutuality occurs. This gave her comfort as her daughters went off to college. Native cultures are rooted in gratitude. In many Native schools, they start the day with an address of gratitude rather than pledging allegiance to the flag, which seems more meaningful to pledge reciprocity with the living world. Contrast this with the pledge to the flag, which include the words "with liberty and justice for all," which is far from true for many. I'm going to recite the opening of the address of gratitude just to give you an idea of what it's like. Today we have gathered and we see that the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now we bring our minds together as one, as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Now our minds are one. Other stanzas are to Mother Earth, water, fish, plants, food plants, medicinal herbs, animals, trees, birds, the four winds, thunderers, sun, moon, stars, teachers, and creator. Each stanza ends with "now our minds are one." The section on picking sweetgrass begins with the epiphany in the beans. The exchange between plants and people has shaped the evolutionary history of both. Thriving of one is in the best interest of the other. Perhaps much of what ails society is that we have allowed ourselves to be cut off from the love of and from the land. The three sisters are corn, beans, and squash, which feed the people, feed the land, and feed our imaginations, telling us how we may live. These three plants, grown in a trio next to each other, all sustain each other and thrive versus the traditional way of planting in rows. In order for the whole to flourish, each has to be strong in who we are and carry our gifts with conviction so they can be shared with others. In indigenous agriculture, plants are modified to fit the land, whereas in the US, the land is modified, for example, using fertilizer and herbicides. Black ash basket. This chapter reflected on the origins of baskets made from the black ash tree. Contrast this with plastic, which is so removed from the natural world. This may be the place where disconnection began, a lack of respect, when we could no longer easily see life within an object. Teachings of grass. If we use a plant respectfully, it will stay with us and flourish. If we ignore it, it will go away. Grasses are adapted to disturbance. Harvesting can thin areas, allowing remaining shoots to respond by reproducing quickly. Maple Nation. Maple is the leader of the trees. Trees are the Environmental Quality Committee running air and water purification 24/7, as well as civic beautification and habitat for birds and wildlife. Part of being human includes an inescapable tension between honoring life around us and taking it in order to live. Indigenous have rules for honorable harvest that include: ask permission before taking and listen for the answer. Never take the first or the last. Take only what is needed and only what is given. Never take more than half. Leave some for others. Harvest in a way to minimize harm. Use it respectfully. Don't waste. Share. Give thanks, give a gift, sustain those who sustain you. As a culture, the dishonorable harvest has become a way of life for many in our country, taking what doesn't belong to us and destroying it beyond repair. We do need to consume energy, but we don't have to destroy the earth. We can use clean energy such as solar, wind, geothermal, and tidal. The section on braiding sweetgrass starts with becoming indigenous to place. Every being has a gift and responsibility. Early humans had to rely on the world to take care of them. They learned not to damage creation and not to interfere with the sacred purpose of another being. The sound of silver bells emphasizes the land being the teacher. Mindfulness is needed. Paying attention is a form of reciprocity with the living world, receiving gifts with open eyes and an open heart. Putting down roots. Mohawk and other tribes were pushed from their lands and forced to assimilate at Carlisle School and many others. When language dies, more than words are lost. Language is the dwelling place of ideas such as democracy and women's equality. Umbilicaria, the belly button of the world. Lichen is another name for Umbilicaria, which isn't one being but two, fungus and alga. Their shared lives benefit the ecosystem. It is known to be among the first to inhabit post-glacial forelands. It is sensitive to air pollution, so when you see lichen, you are breathing pure air. Old growth children, the cedar tree. It is considered the mother tree as it provided for native people plentifully for things like tools, baskets, fish traps, clothing, blanket, beds. Wealth meant having enough to give away. Compare this to industrial forestry, which swallows up the land, decreases biodiversity, and is always focused on having more. Burning sweetgrass begins with the mythic tale of Wendigo. It is a mythic monster of the Anishinaabe, originally told to scare children into good behavior. But Wendigo's deeper meaning is the name for what is within each of us that cares more for its own survival than anything else. Indigenous acknowledged the light and dark side of life, but warned not to feed the dark side. Current examples of the dark side include addictions, devouring the earth's resources, and overconsumption. Governments tend to govern as if human consumption has no consequences. Dark is made to seem that it is light. Yet perpetual growth is simply not compatible with natural law. The Sacred and the Superfund is the story of industry making Lake Onondaga one of the most polluted lakes in the U.S. It's located near Syracuse, New York. The land is buried under 60 feet of industrial waste that trickles toxins into the lake and the home of 500,000 people. The Onondaga people sought land rights so that the lake could be restored. That process has begun, but will take many, many years. Each of us knows of such places. Joanna Macy suggests that we not only have to grieve the loss of land that we love, but also put our hands in the earth to make ourselves whole. Collateral damage. The collateral damage of a developing world is to the various species of life. For example, disappearing wetlands and forests are harmful to amphibians. They breathe through their skin, so can't filter out toxins. Even if their habitat is safe, there are toxins in the air and water that impact them. Shkidajan, people of the seventh fire. Sacred fire to indigenous represents their life, teachings, and journey. The fifth fire was when black-robed men turned them against their own sacred ways and were forced to leave their homelands. The sixth fire was a time of grief. Now is the time of the seventh fire, a return to revitalizing land, culture, and language. Defeating Wendigo. A Wendigo economy grants personhood to corporations but denies it to others. An alternative to Wendigo economy is the indigenous way called one bowl and one spoon. This means the gifts of the earth are all in one bowl and all are to be shared by everyone. This commons approach maintains abundance, not scarcity. Epilogue, returning the gift. The one who is honored at celebrations gives the gifts in Indigenous culture. Wealth is measured by having enough to give away. Circle of gratitude. Gifts follow the circle of gratitude and flow back to the person who gives. In closing, I just wanted to express my gratitude to the author for sharing her cultural roots and stories that she blended so eloquently with scientific knowledge to teach us on many levels about plants, how to treat each other, and how to live our lives in the world. Thank you so much for your attendance today. This is the end of the book presentation part, but I do have some questions for us to discuss. So the very first question that I have is, what part of the book impacted you the most? Or if you haven't read it, what part of what I just shared piqued your interest enough to want to read it? So we're a small enough group, it'd be nice to hear something from each of you.
Everyone can unmute also. There you go.
Yes.
Yay.
So I have to say, I didn't get to read the book, but that was amazing. That was an amazing presentation. But what I really appreciated, I have family that lives in that area, and they've been there for a long time. And today was the first day that I learned the correct pronunciation of, you were saying Onondaga, and everybody that lives there says Onondaga. And it took me a minute, and I was like, I know where she's talking about in Syracuse, New York. I know.
Wow.
So that was it was really touching. It was the first time I heard the correct pronunciation of it. So
wow.
Yeah, that was great. That was really great. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anita, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I was given this book quite a while ago and read it, and now I'm rereading it. But what caught me again in the very first chapter, the comparison between Sky Woman and Eve, the difference, what really makes Western culture, Christian Western culture, so different from indigenous cultures, but not only indigenous cultures in the Americas, but all over the world. And to my mind, I think the original sin is in Genesis, where it says, "And man, God created man and set him over his creation, not as part of his creation."
Yeah, big difference.
I discussed that with a Muslim friend of mine. Actually, he was a teacher at Pearson College and had his surah and everything on his computer, on his smartphone. So we were sitting there drinking tea, and then we talked about it. And he read me what is in the Quran. And they don't have that formulation, though they have taken over much of the story of Genesis. They only say that God created man as part of his creation.
Mm.
And to my mind, there begins the rape of the rest of the world. When you say that one species is set to dominate, to have dominion, as it says in the in the James Bible, and the King James Bible. That caught me again, straight smack, when I opened the book again.
Yeah. Anybody else? Just what really grabbed you about the book, impacted you the most, or?
Well, I guess I will say that what impacts me the most is our relationship that, you know, she talks about with our land and trees and the abuses of those, and how important it is to I mean, in her words, to really protect. And so, and
Yeah.
what she said about the mother tree, and yeah, so
Oh,
anyway, yeah, it kind of touches on our overconsumption as
Yeah.
humans, right?
Very much.
has any of you read The Mother Tree, the book?
I started it, but I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It answers some of the questions that Kimera asks, because the mother tree came out later than braiding sweetgrass.
Yeah.
Because now we know that trees communicate.
Communicate.
proper.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go on to the next question, if that's okay. And it's in the story of Sky Woman Falling, the Indigenous creation story. You learn Sky Woman lived as if her children's future mattered. If you truly focus on the earth that will be left for grandchildren, how would you live differently?
I would live very different. Well, actually, if I would have known about these teachings when I was a young adult or even a child, because I've always been enamored by Native American culture, but this part of it has never been in anything that I've read or heard about until, gosh, the last maybe decade or so, and also getting close to nature. So the combination effort has made me realize so much. I'd say that's been more than, well, my kids are 23, so more than that length of time that through my own evolution, the reciprocity aspect has been, and having children has been hugely impactful in my life. However, I wish I would have known more about overconsumption, which is a harmful practice for the future generations. So we live a very simple life now, not as much overconsumption. Very little, actually. We try to use everything. We grow a lot of our food, etc. We use every bit of it. Even the seeds we'll replant, or we'll, stir fry or roast. And so it's, I just think that it is a lifestyle of deep inner contentment when you embrace that particular way of life. So different than the normal GDP moderated style of living.
Yes. Others? Yes, Claudia.
By the way, I had my two youngest grandkids yesterday over for an afternoon and evening, and told them about the discussion about plastics and microplastics. And the 20-year-old was totally into it. She knew all the facts.
Ooh,
And
nice.
And we were talking about the fact, sadly, that as it was mentioned too at the discussion. Thank you for Marianne. That in Europe they have washing machines that collect microplastics, and that technology has not reached this continent.
Wow.
The other thing is, of course, and then we went into other tales because it was also connected with their grandfather, my late husband, etc. But I mean, I grew up, I'm 82, I grew up in post-war West Germany. We recycled everything.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing because we were poor. we were poor. And then I lived in Iceland for many years, where people came out of a very poor fishing agriculture society into modern society in the last century. And there I learned from my mother-in-law and the history of the people I studied how dependent everybody was on nature and how one cherished nature, because we were much closer to nature. I don't know whether any of you have heard, I don't know who created it, but it was a Swiss writer who wrote a book about Homo faber. And he used terms that were created by another philosopher in Switzerland between the Homo divinans and the Homo faber. The Homo divinans, who is still connected with nature and part of nature, and the Homo faber, who thinks that he can manufacture nature. We had to read Homo faber in school. It was part of our high school curriculum, and it has never left me. And I lived then in a society where, due to the harsh nature, people were very close to Homo divinans still, the man connected, or the human connected with nature, and whose life was still determined with nature. And so it went through my life, because I lived in too many countries and different cultures. But these things have impacted me for all the time. I didn't need to be taught to recycle.
Good for you. That's awesome.
No, it's simply the cultures, the different culture in which people grow up.
Yeah.
And when you talk to people that grew up during the dirty 30s, and I had the privilege through Zonta here in Victoria to get to know Canadian Zontians who were old enough to have grown up in the 30s. And their tales influenced me too, very much, because they still lived to some extent in connection with nature. But on the other hand, their sufferings were caused by people, politicians especially, and economists, not taking nature into account. Sorry, now I'm stepping down from my normal Zonta soapbox.
That's all right.
We all go on that every now and then.
Anybody else want to comment on that? Otherwise, I'll just go to the next question. But I don't want to stop anybody.
I just want to say a quick thing. Anita, I'm doing a book discussion at 7 Mountain Time on a book called, you can write the book name, Waste and Want. It's a social history of trash. Waste and Want.
I know about that.
Yeah, okay, so developed countries, and then that their little fingers have reached around the world, have created in 125 years where we are today. By developing the term and the practice of obsolescence.
Yes. Oh,
which is overconsumption.
May I tell you one tale that's true?
Yeah.
My son in Iceland he went to trade school, and he is a master electrician. When he had graduated from trade school, German big electrical companies like Siemens and AEG and the like, they invited the whole graduating class on what I regarded as a propaganda trip to Germany. So they went to these different big manufacturers and were taken through the design studios, through the manufacturing floor. And my then 19-year-old son came back home and said, "Mom, you won't believe it. We were told that all the household machines were built that they would break down after a certain time." And that's the same story when I came to North America and discovered that hot water tanks, which I was not used to, would break down 8.5 years after the 8-year guarantee ran out, and maybe 9 years or 9.5 years when the 10-year guarantee, or 10.5 years when the guarantee broke out. But that is capitalism in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I think you had mentioned on the book about the seventh fire, and I don't want to go forward, but there's also the Hopi Indian prophecy about the fifth world, which to me,
Oh.
they are somewhat interconnected with
Yeah.
back to the feminine leaders, feminine, like caring, nurturing the earth, that sort of style of mothering the earth. Mother Earth is feminine. And
Yes.
and so, yeah, so that hopefully is the part of the seventh fire. And we don't know if we'll see it in our lifetime, but we can certainly, as Zontians, work towards that.
Yes. Very true. So, next question is, Kimmerer states in Native Ways of Knowing, human people are often referred to as the younger brothers of creation. Do you agree that humans can learn from plants and animals? And if so, how can we humble ourselves to listen to the wisdom of plants?
We don't have to humble ourselves. We just have to listen. We don't have to humble ourselves. We are part of it.
So I agree with Claudia. And I think that if we pay attention, we can see what plants and animals are telling us about climate change and our consumption and our, taking our habitat away and pushing them closer and closer to humans. And I mean, they're telling us just by us watching them. And there's plants and trees that aren't surviving anymore that have survived very well. And because our conditions are changing. So, yeah.
Yes.
I I think it's important for especially young people, children, starting young, to teach them how to listen to the earth, listen to the plants, listen to the wind, listen to look at the sky and just everything, appreciate the stars, and to have them like kind of grow in that beautiful, serene sort of mindset. For adults, I think it's a little bit harder because we're always trying to make a buck, right? And so, but I think I think if you talk to farmers and gardeners and people who are outdoors people, like hikers, bikers, etc., I think you have that element of listening. I believe it's less apparent in certain populations, like business people, like maybe I don't want to just lump everybody together, but you know what I'm saying. When
I
they're
do.
not connected to the outdoors for any reason, and social media and computers has not helped one bit. But
No, that's for sure. So, let me go to the next one because it's another aspect of this. An offering provides insight into Kimmerer's understanding of the meaning of ceremony that is fed from the same bond with the land, founded on respect and gratitude. How can we express our gratitude and responsibility for the gifts of the land? What can we offer Earth in return?
Just to respect it.
I think we can do simple things in our communities, like encouraging better recycling and composting, offering our food waste to the earth in a proper way to heal our land, our soil, because there's not that much good soil left on this earth. And if we can do that, that's a beautiful offering. And also offering in a way that, again, back to the children or the people who are, or even adults, to plant food, plant flowers for the bees, offer your own time, a little bit of your talent, or build a new skill to offer energy to creating green energy. Is something we can do that I think would be interesting and simple and somewhat easy for most people who, especially even busy people, could do that.
Claudia?
You, especially children, take them out in nature. And teach them from the very beginning to never leave a footprint, not even a footprint, because that is one great problem. But just take them out and share with them the little salamander on the ground, or how beautiful we in the West, we know what a banana slug is, huh? And tell them how incredible this creature is. And involve them straight away. I love the idea that we now have nature kindergartens here in the West, where kids are outside. We can do it here in the West because it doesn't get as cold as it does get in central Canada and in parts of the United States. But from the very beginning, to get them to remember what the late Jane Goodall said when she took some animals back into her bed. Just she wanted to study them. And that is how we have to bring up our children. We have tried to, I mean, I was fortunate that we were very close to nature in Iceland because our nature was everywhere, even in the city. But in my step-grandchildren, they all grew up, thank heavens, because their parents were connected to the land still, even if they are city people and academics, but they were taken into the land. And so we have to give children the opportunity. And it starts when they're very, very, very little.
Yes. Patricia, I know we can't see you, but I thought I might ask if you had anything you wanted to add about this or anything else so far.
So sorry. Yes, I had myself kind of in dark because I'm getting ready to take off for Madrid, and I have got in true Patricia fashion. I haven't packed yet, so, or done many of the things I have to do. So I do apologize. I'll try not to distract everyone, especially because I appreciate this rich conversation we're having, and I think that I do agree with what everybody here is saying in the exchange. And one thing that was kind of marinating in my mind is, yes, we have to start when people are young with education. That's really the first thing. But what I was really thinking is there has to be something. I don't really know quite how to articulate this, but something that has to be interactive, because to Julie's point, right now there's so much in terms of she had mentioned social media, but also AI, right? Like this is really, people are becoming so reliant on it. So when everyone was speaking, all I thought was, these are amazing points, and how do we do this where we get it, where it is reaching younger generations right now in an interactive way? Because honestly, people that already like us, that are like-minded, we're going to seek this information out. So in my mind, and maybe this isn't contributing, but it's what I was thinking about, is how do we reach people? How do we get there where this is something that we have to start with, we have to educate the young, but also how do we get people that are already formed adults to buy in? What is it that we do? And the reason I was thinking this, I'll tell you why, is, and I don't want to say anything political in this forum, but with what's going on right now in North America with, some of the shutdown, I'll leave it at that. There are a lot of people that are impacted. And maybe if they had some of these resources that we're talking about, right, in terms of, oh, I can grow my own this, or I can grow that, or I can do this or that. Is there a way we can make people where they have the abundance at home, right? Like, this is what I'm thinking. I don't know how we do this, but I'm thinking, is there a way we can? How do we do this that is accessible? And this is really more so for somebody like myself who does live in New York City, where we don't have a lot of access to soil, to greenery and things like that. So I'm just thinking, like, how do we do this? How do we do it? What can we do? Because I think these are all great ideas. I think everyone has magnificent points. And again, we're all like-minded people. We want to do this. What is it we do that reaches that can reach the people that aren't like this, that don't have these kind of ideas about recycling and consumption and obsolescence. I myself, I can promise you, I go through on a regular basis and see what I have at home that I can donate, whether it's to the Breast Cancer
Yes.
Foundation, Salvation Army, any Habitat for Humanity. I do that. This is part of so much part of my life that everybody that lives around me knows, okay, she's organizing something right now for a donation drive. What do I have? All my neighbors
Mhm.
see the thing, they'll see it come through, and they do these pickups, and you can give them whatever it is. And the reason I do this is because I believe in the repurposing of items so that it's not going
Yes.
to waste. It's not ending up in wasteland. And so the people that need it do get it. So yeah, like I said, I feel bad because I'm not articulating it the way everyone else is doing such a fabulous job, but it's more so because my brain has moved on to the I agree with everything. Now, how do we do this? How do we get the people that aren't inclined to be like this, to want to strive to
Well,
use?
and you know what you were saying about, and I don't know if they have any of this happening in New York. Probably they do. Community gardens. You know,
Mhm. Yeah,
it's like, can food banks have places where they teach people or where they're directing people to the land in some way so that you know what I'm saying?
right, right.
There's got to be a way, but it's convoluted. You have to talk about it. It has to be something that gets attention in the community, I think.
I agree. I agree 100%. It's funny. We do have some things that are, we call it like a farm to table, but again, it's
Yes.
people who want to do these things, and it's I I'm struggling to think of how is it that we do reach the rest of the population that isn't. One thing you had said though during your presentation that I loved, I absolutely was love, and I do want to read this. I apologize I didn't have the opportunity prior
Well, that's
to,
okay.
but I'm going to now, because one thing you had said that especially as one of the things we had talked about in church today in terms of gratitude and coming up on Thanksgiving. So one of the things that you had touched on was the concept of when we are amongst others, you don't take the first, you don't take the last, don't
Yeah.
take don't take more than you need, don't and I thought to myself, right, exactly, we know this, but you know what, people don't do that because we live in such a greedy capitalistic society. We do, right?
Yeah.
Like we really do, and everybody gets so fearful of, oh my god, there's not going to be enough. What if there's not enough?
Yeah.
I want more, and I need it. I need to have this. And it's really trying to just ground some of that, the philosophy of we're all here together, we're all part of the earth, we're all part of one another, and we need to help each other get through this together. So don't treat this like the Hunger Games, for example.
Yeah.
Don't treat it
Yeah.
like that. So yeah, that was it was very touching. That was very touching.
That's great, because my next question had to do with the honorable harvest.
LOL.
It says, how can we teach people to remember what's good for the land is also good for the people? Yeah, I love the honorable harvest. To me, that was one of the high points of the book. But anyway, yeah, any thoughts about putting into practice more of those covenants of the honorable harvest?
Well, I just this morning listened to the what you might media might call the environmental speaker of the Pope, who
Oh,
was
yeah.
established by Pope Francis and is continuing. He is a Canadian cardinal, and the Pope Francis already brought two big encyclicals about men and the environment. And I think that at least it would behoove all those people that call themselves Christians to learn about the message he wanted to bring. That's one thing, and I'm going to chase them. I'm not Catholic, but I think that opinion leaders, church people, teachers, we have still opinion leaders in this world, though influencers on social media work against that. but we still have opinion leaders. I also heard this morning Catherine Hayhoe talk,
Mhm.
and she is one of my heroines, I have to confess.
I agree.
And
Yeah,
I
me too.
hope that we could get her as a speaker in Vancouver next year, but I don't think
Oh,
that worked out. But
that would be awesome.
I listen to
Oh,
her.
yeah.
I follow her. I follow her often. Her whatever it is. I
Yeah,
follow
her
her
little
online.
weekly
Her
email.
newsletter. Yeah, I get
Yeah, her
that too.
newsletter, because we have to get all these people together that in
Yeah.
the
Yes.
old days formed the opinions in society to counterweigh the influencers that want us to buy more cosmetics, more clothes, I don't know what else, in order to repair society.
Yeah.
And society, when it is not in alignment with the environment, can't survive in the form that we want it to survive.
Mhm.
So that is, I think, schools, school boards, teachers associations,
Yeah.
they have to demand that environmental matters are addressed in counterweight to the messages of the marketplace and things like that.
Yes. That's great. Anybody
I-
else about
I
the
think
rules of the harvest?
gratitude to me plays a huge role in the rules of the harvest.
Yes.
Because like Patricia was saying, people who are like, I don't have enough, I need to have more. What if I don't have enough later? That's not a gratitude attitude. I know personally that when I start the day in gratitude, my whole day is so much calmer. And you, Connie, and probably Patricia too, both of you in mental wellness, uh, it, careers. I don't know why that
Yes.
word didn't come. I know that the connection of mental wellness and well-being really a lot of it starts with being able to feel gratitude and understanding what
Yes.
that is. It's not just like, well, thanks for that. It's an essence of gratitude for even the smallest little thing. Um, and I'm sure, especially in this day and time when there's a lot of anger and some hatred and some confusion and some, I guess, heavy hitters for things like AI and business and obsolescence and overconsumption, that it can, I think, muddle up our minds so that we don't know left from right, right from wrong at times, and we can't get to the very basics of gratitude. I'm so glad to have taken a breath this morning, or thank you for the sunshine. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm so grateful for being loved or safe. Um, and so that's easy, I have to say, for me to say because I feel loved and safe. But then we have millions of women and girls and even men and boys that are not feeling loved or safe. So that, to me, this whole essence of um, gratitude and the harvest and taking just what I need and not taking the first or last, that to me is a very huge order for so many because there's just so many issues in the world,
Yeah, for sure.
so us who are privileged can say, oh yeah, I feel grateful, I'm mindful. But what about those who can't get there? Maybe they're in conflict or
Mm.
somewhere else,
Yeah, that's a great point, Julie. And it's really interesting because like you, I do the same. I sit every morning before I start my day, I sit in
Yep.
prayer. And it is to before I do anything, it's to set my mind right. It's to be grateful even that I took my breath this morning, right? That I entered this day, that people I love entered this day, that um and that's something I take with me all year round for anything, whether it's health, this, that, or whatever. Um, but one thing that I wanted to add or build to what you're saying is it's also important for people to do that mental wellness check-in and sit, because you can get fatigued, right? Because we see so much, and I share that with all of us here to make sure we do this, because everybody that's sitting here is here because we do care and we want everyone to do better. We want everyone to thrive here amongst us, but also out in the world. We want everyone to. And so after a while, you hear so much of devastation and just abuse and everything. I don't know about anyone else, but I have to admit, I get to a point where I am so fatigued, and it makes me upset, where I'll just find myself like having almost like a mental a moment, a breakdown, where I'm crying for people that I don't know and may never know. And so it's important to be grateful. It's also important to be kind to ourselves during this and make sure that we don't get burnout or fatigue through it, because it's
Yeah.
it's a very real thing. It's
Absolutely.
I get angry.
Go
Yes.
ahead, Claudia. You had your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to say a suggestion, because you in the United States are preparing now for Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
How about when you sit down at the Thanksgiving table to recite the World Hunger Prayer?
Mm.
That's a good idea.
We say that nearly every time as a family when we get together, because my daughter and one of my daughters-in-law grew up in a Catholic household and they prayed before every meal. I grew up in a Protestant household and we prayed before a meal and after a meal for what was given to us, because it was not taken for granted.
Yeah.
The World Hunger Game embraces both hunger, peace, and friendship.
There's
It's easy
also
to find online, and I mean that gives us, maybe anchors us a little more and reminds us why we are celebrating Thanksgiving. It is an old tradition, not starting in the United States. It's as old in cultures all over the world, giving thanks in one way or another. And when we decorate the churches with the fruits of the harvest, which is in here in Canada earlier, it is our Thanksgiving is much earlier, so we can have all the sheaves of corn and the new world gifts to us, actually,
Yeah.
when you come to think of it. And then one feels much more connected and more grateful. But look up the World Hunger Prayer if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I definitely will. I have not. So this is good.
me too.
I
There
wrote it
is
down.
there's also a Thanksgiving prayer that's associated with this book. I don't know if you've read it.
No, I haven't. That
I
I
would
don't
look it up.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, look up Robin Wall Kimmerer Thanksgiving
Yeah.
prayer. That's
Yeah.
also a
Okay.
very, very beautiful prayer.
Yeah. This
And
one is for a world where many, hang on, it's always hanging over my desk. Whoops. And my, here, for a world, for food in a world where many walk in hunger, for friends, for faith in a world where many walk in fear, for peace in a world where many walk in fear, for friends in a world where many walk alone, we give thanks. It's very simple.
That's
beautiful.
great.
But I tell you, when you sit there and say it with conviction, or when your grandchildren have learned to say it with conviction, then I feel that I have achieved a little bit.
Yeah, that's great. I like
Beautiful.
that.
Thank you for sharing that, Claudia.
So I think I'm going to just pop to the last question, because it says reflect on, it encapsulates some of the things some of you have said. Kimmerer's statement, environmentalism becomes synonymous with dire predictions and powerless feelings. What action can you take within your community to bring about positive environmentalism and ecological restoration preservation?
Simple. Fund those organizations, support those organizations, and vote for those that use your vote, use your pocketbook, and use your labor or whatever. I can't do very much anymore, but by God, have I marched.
Yes, and email is easy to do.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Those to any politician prior to voting or any time when there's an issue. Same with corporations and organizations. I think that this book to me helps me stay grounded and know in my heart how to proceed forward. So it talks about listening to the land and to the animals, but also listen to our heart, not our head, which is all full of stuff, but our heart.
Yeah.
Like where do we want to go with the knowledge we have, and how do we make it better? So what can we do? How can I help is like the big question. How can
Mhm.
I help? And for Zontians, I'm just going to say empower women and girls because they are the answer.
Yeah.
Right on.
Right on. Well, here at the coast, we say this: thank you.
Mhm. This right here. Thank you.
Yeah. That's what our West Coast First Nations normally say for greetings and for thank you.
Yeah,
I like
it's
that.
true.
I love that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
I'm so appreciative of those of you that joined today. This is great.
It was
It's-
amazing. You
Bon
did great.
voyage for Patricia.
Oh,
I
thank
don't know how it is
Yeah.
in Spanish. I'm sorry.
That's that was I'm good with bon voyage.
It's buen viaje.
Yes, bon voyage.
Have fun. How long are you gone?
Oh, just about a week and a half. It's more of this is I've done much of the travel I've had to do in the past several years has been for field work, for research, for presentations, especially when I was going to the Middle East and different parts of the world. And it occurred to me, I have not done anything for pleasure and for far too long. And so I am just taking some time for myself. Uh,
Good.
I'm just taking a little bit of time for myself, and it's been far too long. So I'm only going for about a week and a half or so. And I know, Julie, you'll appreciate this. If not, you'll laugh at me, and that's okay. My favorite football team happens to be playing in Madrid, and so
Oh.
exactly. So I definitely planned this trip around that.
Oh, that's
Honey, that's great.
amazing. You're
Yeah,
gonna
Love
enjoy
it.
that. That's
yes,
fun.
and that
Good
is what
for
I'm
you.
for. I'm gonna be, the ability to do this, and I'll send lots of pictures.
One thing
That's
I love
great.
about that part of the world
Mhm.
is they're really big on family and getting outside. So they
Yeah,
go into the
True.
squares, and every evening, the whole family's out there walking it because it gets hot there. So they are walking around, they're doing family things, they're talking with people and just being outdoors
yeah.
together. And I hope you just have a wonderful, wonderful time.
Thank you. I am looking forward to it. I really, truly, truly am. I'm looking forward to it. So thank
Right?
Patricia, what
you.
is your field? What?
So I am an international psychologist.
Oh,
Yes, and and I've studied it's in the study of cultures and how
okay.
their their human behavior is with one another, with subgroups, and in this case with the environment too, right? Because one of my dissertation was on how the psychosocial well-being of people that live around populations, excuse me, that live around fracking communities, because fracking is a huge polluter to
Yeah.
the environment. And I know you're in Canada, so I apologize. I don't mean to.
No, we would need you here.
I did actually do research in Canada, and found it took a lot of hard work to find people that were willing, organizations that were willing to work with me and want to give me information about the oil industry there. And I was successful in doing so, and did include that in my dissertation defense. So much more on it. But yeah, that's what my field of study is
Oh,
international
wow.
college.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
if it's your first time in Madrid, go to the Prado Museum if you like museums. That's a very famous, famous museum. And then also, I really enjoyed going to, and this is like the pinnacle of not obsolescence, of overconsumption and Anyway, the palace tour, to go to the palace tour. Oh my gosh, it's
Oh,
amazing.
wonderful suggestion. Thank you. It is my first time to Madrid. It
Yeah,
is.
those two places are amazing.
So I'm very much looking forward to this, and I love the suggestions.
Yeah, and there's one more I just remembered. The Nautical Museum
Okay.
in Madrid has one of the oldest maps of the world.
Oh,
It is amazing. It's
oh,
flat, big,
yeah,
flat map.
yeah.
It's hand painted, hand drawn. It
Oh,
is hundreds and hundreds of years old.
I love this. I love
Yeah.
this. I'm taking all your suggestions.
So
Yeah.
enjoy
Good.
enjoy the paintings of El Greco
I
in
Yes.
Prada,
will.
because they are, and try to analyze them.
As a philosopher, that is exactly what I will do. That is exactly what I will
Very
do.
nice.
I will.
Well,
I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited. I am truly excited. I really am. It's as somebody who is an avid traveler, like I said, and I just haven't had everything I have done has really been for field of study, or presentation work or anything of that nature for the past several years. And it just dawned on me. And this is the first time I said, no, I need to take a moment. I need to take a beat, because if I don't refresh myself, it's going to be very difficult to carry on the work
Mhm.
to help others, because you could feel yourself. I could feel myself getting a little burnt out. So I'm going to take all of this wonderful advice and definitely do everything and bring my reflections back to the group, because I'm excited.
Great.
I'm excited.
Well,
All right.
enjoy.
May
Safe
I,
travels. Thank you everyone for coming. Connie,
Yes.
beautiful presentation on a gorgeous book. The content is just
yeah, it is so
amazing and
Rich.
wonderful and rich. So very nice to meet those of you I have met for the first time, Claudia and Marianne, and I will see you again. We are going to go ahead and close this out. Any
Thank
last
you.
words, Connie?
Nope, that's great.
All right.
Happy
Well, thanks
Thanksgiving,
everyone.
everyone.
Happy
Wonderful
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving season.
Thank
Wonderful.
Yes. Have
you.
a wonderful Thanksgiving season.
Yes.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.